What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be discussing Nikolaj Ehlers and his whole contract situation right now. Will he remain a Jet? Will he be walking to unrestricted free agency? We're going to get into all of that in this video, but I truly do believe that the Jets' best path forward is keeping Nikolaj Ehlers. Ehlers is on the last year of his 7-year, $6 million AAV deal, and he will need to be re-upped. I imagine the number would be in the, 8.5 range. Ehlers had a really good year this year, his best really in the NHL at age 29. 69 games played, 24 goals, 39 assists for 63 points on the year, just a little bit under, point per game average there. And you see these numbers and you go, oh wow, that's a really good second liner. But the thing is with Nikolaj Ehlers is that his usage in Winnipeg has been an issue, and we're going to talk about that as this video goes on. But you take a look at the numbers, 63 points in 69 games. That's almost a point per game, 6 under a point per game. And then you take into effect that he's playing effectively third line minutes. He averaged this season 15 minutes 48 seconds. A lot of these games Mason Appleton was playing more than him, right? That number's a little bit inflated this year because he actually got some power play time for once. But if we look into the playoffs, of forwards, he was number 7 on the list. That means there were 6 more Jets forwards that logged more time on ice than Nikolaj Ehlers. And Mason Appleton was one of them, logged over 3 more minutes than Nikolaj Ehlers. That can happen, right? And there's a few different reasons for that. I'm not going to get into it all in this video. It's, more to do with line matching and stuff like that. But he was legitimately one of the Jets' best players all playoffs long, right? As soon as he came back into the lineup after injury there, he lit the playoffs on fire. He looked really good, 7 points in 8 games. One of the most competitive Winnipeg Jets out there. He could have had, another 3 or 4 goals. Ottinger was all over the place in that second round. He played really good. But Nick Ehlers looked like a man on a mission. And that hasn't always been the case in years past, right? Hasn't always had the best playoff numbers, but he looked really good this season. And it's crazy what happens when you put this guy in situations to succeed. Nearly a point per game player. And, I know people are going to talk about injuries and stuff like that. But at the same time, we have Gabe Valardi over there that's had 3 major injuries since coming to Winnipeg, never mind his whole, professional career. And, nobody seems to be talking about that. I don't know if it's like a European thing, if, the older crowd doesn't love that he's a European or whatever, I don't know. But something to definitely take into effect there. Yes, Ehlers has had some injuries in the past, but he only missed 13 regular season games this year. That's not too bad. And the Jets are an aging core, right? This is not a young team. Mark Scheifele, 32 years old. Adam Lowry, 32 years old. Dylan DeMello, 32 years old. Guys are not getting any younger here. There's very few players that are going to be, massive pieces that are, 25 and younger currently on roster, from the team that we just saw play this season. There are guys that are going to, come into the lineup like a Nikita Chibrikov and, some other prospects there, I believe, next season. However, the time to win is now in Winnipeg, and if you're losing Nick Ehlers, I don't know how you fill that hole. Winnipeg, has not been a team that has been super aggressive on free agency, or, I shouldn't say that, but, not successful in their pursuit to land, unrestricted free agents. They've been great at retaining players. And, Nick Ehlers coming back, that would go a long way to keeping the contending hole or window open for the Jets because, you lose Nick Ehlers. This is already a team that's probably going to be looking for some, second-line center help this offseason. If you're to have to find a second-line center and a second-line winger, you're in a lot of trouble there. That's a very tall task. And the Jets are going to have some cap space here, right? They can do stuff. They can re-sign Nick Ehlers. They're going to have around $25 million-ish in cap, once they're able to re-sign contracts and everything like that. But they're going to have to, figure out how they're going to spend it because they have a couple of RFAs in Dylan Samberg, who I think is a lock to be signed up to a long-term deal. I don't think that'll take very long at all. Gabe Valardi, who's, again, one of those guys that had a career year. He's going to need a deal. Will he sign long-term in Winnipeg? We'll have to see. Will the Jets want to sign him long-term, with his injury trouble? We'll have to see. And then you have to look forward to Kyle Connors, contract ending next season. He makes about $7 million right now. I imagine that number would be in the 11-12 range, right? So you have to figure out how you're going to budget for not only now, but in the future. And also, Cole Perfetti, who had a breakout year this last season, he's going to need a contract at the end of next season as well. It's probably going to be double, the $4.25 million that he makes now. It's probably going to be in the 8.5 range. So can you keep everybody is the question. Obviously no, but the Jets are going to have to figure out who that guy is going to be that isn't going to be brought back. If we're being realistic, I would imagine that player is Nikolaj Ehlers. I don't think it's a slam dunk at all that he's going to be back with the Jets. I think there's a lot of reasons why he would not want to return to Winnipeg. But this is a guy that was talked very highly about in the locker room cleanups, locker room exit interviews from Winnipeg Jets teammates, right? Josh Morrissey gushing about him, Connor Hellebuck gushing about him. These guys love him. He's a big part of the room, and none of them want to see this guy leave. I understand it's a business, can't keep everybody, but I think, for a team that prides themselves on, chemistry and being a family, Nick Ehlers has been here for a long time, and he's shown that he can be a big part of this team. And I think by keeping Nikolaj Ehlers, you allow yourself to, not only, stay a cup contender, but, if you use him more, you could really elevate your team to the next level. More Nikolaj Ehlers equals more success, and that's just fact. And I see a lot of people talking about Mason Appleton, like, oh hey, he still needs a contract. Well, the Jets used him for, 2, 3, 4 more minutes a night than Nikolaj Ehlers. Surely they're going to want to bring him back. And, I counter with, I think that deal would have already been done. I don't think we're going to see Mason Appleton back. The Jets already re-signed Vlad Namestnikov to a very, team-friendly deal. Already signed Alex Iafallo to a very team-friendly deal. Those are 2 veteran middle six guys that you've already locked up here. I think if Mason Appleton, were signing a contract here in Winnipeg, I think it would have already been done. Obviously things can change, but I don't think the Jets want to throw, $3.5–4.5 million at this guy. I think he's going to make his money elsewhere, and, I think they'll probably slot in a couple of entry-level contracts. Younger guys such as Nikita Chibrikov. Maybe we see Brad Lambert next year. See what happens, but that's kind of what I envision is going to be happening there. But to wrap this all up, Nikolaj Ehlers is arguably the most electric Jet on this Winnipeg Jets team. He's big in the locker room. He's putting up nearly a point per game pace, playing at the same amount of ice time that a third liner would get. That is unbelievable, and nobody else in the NHL is doing that. The Winnipeg Jets, if they are truly wanting to win now and to, avoid a massive headache, need to go out and sign Nikolaj Ehlers right now. They're going to have a mountain of a task to try to find somebody to replace him. They're going to have even bigger of a mountain to climb if they think they're going to find a number 2 centerman and a replacement that's going to put up 60+ points for Nick Ehlers. It's just not going to happen. I don't understand the argument that Nick Ehlers has to leave. I don't get it. The same people that are saying that are the same people that are complaining that, oh, it's really hard to get players to come to Winnipeg. So if you lose a Nick Ehlers, well, good luck, right? Like, I don't know what's going to happen here. But this is a big offseason for the Jets, and this is one of the big dominoes to fall here. We'll see what happens. I think he's going to be thinking long and hard on this one. If Nick Ehlers wants to walk, totally understand, right? He's going to be a star if he leaves Winnipeg. He's going to go somewhere and be a first liner. He's going to get that first line ice time, no doubt. If he stays in Winnipeg, we'll see what happens with the Jets, but if the Jets want to be serious and actually, make a real push here to win a Stanley Cup, I think Nick Ehlers is probably your best bet to have in the lineup right now. Jets have to win now. The Cup window is closing. It's not getting any bigger. We'll see what happens here, but Nick Ehlers, I would love to see stay in a Winnipeg Jets uniform. But what do you think should happen to Nikolaj Ehlers? Should he stay with the Winnipeg Jets or should he go elsewhere? I want to hear from you guys. If you haven't already, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Go Jets, go. Bye-bye.